Portuguese. Hello and welcome to Low Key Portuguese. Hoje vamos ver determinantes e pronomes indefinidos. So, in today's episode, we're going to look at quantifiers and pronouns and how these can kind of flip back and forth depending on how they're being used in a particular context. So, the first rule we want to think about, and I'm going to start with the Portuguese explanation, and just to give you guys some practice listening up for what you're reading on the screen there in the first half of the bullet point. And then in the second half, we'll look at that as soon as I'm done in English. So, without further ado, os determinantes indefinidos usam-se com nomes e colocam-se à esquerda do nome ou substantivo. So these indefinite determinants, or quantifiers, as other linguists in English would refer to them, are used with nouns and are placed usually to the left of the noun. So here's a couple of examples. Comprei muitos livros. Comprei muitos livros. So I bought lots of books. Second example, temos pouco dinheiro. Temos pouco dinheiro. We have little money. So these quantifiers, determinants, they typically serve the purpose of just strengthening an adjective or strengthening the description of a particular noun. Another rule we want to keep in mind is that the noun has, if the noun's already been mentioned in a previous utterance or in a speech act that happens very close to and the next time that we'd have to refer to that same noun, it's not necessary to repeat that noun. We can just simply use the indefinite determinant or the quantifier that represents that already mentioned noun. And now this is where it kind of transforms into an indefinite pronoun. So the example that we have here is this dialogue between A and B. A says, "Compraste alguns livros?" And that translates directly to, did you buy any books? So, alguns, any books. And then B, sim, comprei alguns. Yes, I bought some. So in English, that word changes meaning completely. We use a completely different term to convey what we're trying to convey. But in Portuguese, if you notice, it's the same term, right? Compraste alguns livros. That alguns is functioning as any. But in the response, it now responds, it comes across as, or it conveys the idea of some, right? Sim, comprei alguns. So in Portuguese, it's important to know these because you need to be able to use them and interchange them with the nouns that they may be replacing in a subsequent speech act. So here's the complete list of the determinants or quantifiers or pronouns, indefinite pronouns, and we do need to think about these with that same matrix of singular, plural, in terms of quantity, and also in terms of gender, the masculine and feminine version of each one of these. So again, some can translate as algum, alguma, alguns, and algumas. So this would be being used as a determinant, and we just saw on the previous screen that some also can come across, have the same meaning, or the word any in English also has this meaning of algum, alguma, alguns, and algumas. So again, we do need to think about all of these in terms of, again, singular and plural, their quantity, as well as their gender, masculine and feminine. So none can be translated into one of the four, depending on what it is we're describing or trying to add a strengthened description to. So none, and these are the pronunciations: nenhum, nenhum, nenhuma, nenhuma, nenhuns, nenhuns, or nenhumas, nenhumas. Again, that's none, nenhum, nenhuma, nenhuns, or nenhumas. Just a heads up on, if you've noticed, there's a little bit of commonality here with the endings for algum and nenhum, that um ending, and you'll typically see that most words in Portuguese that end in m typically will become ns in their plural form. And then the feminine version of those two words, they end in a. So again, the rule is simply to add an s whenever you have a vowel at the end of a word to make it plural. The next one, many, comes across as muito, muita, muitos, and muitas. Now, as you hear me pronounce this word, you may hear that there's an N sound in there, and it's not there, but just the way that we pronounce these letters together, the UIT, it's really hard not to produce that sound, for that sound not to come out. It's okay to lean into it. You don't have to force it, but it's okay to allow it to come out because that's essentially how you want to pronounce it. So even though there's no N there, you kind of want to roll with that sound and just kind of allow that sound to come out. So one more time. Muito, muita, muitos, and muitas. And again, you want to think about what it is that we're trying to describe, and it has to have agreement between the version that we choose out of any of these words and that specific noun that we're trying to quantify. The next one is the word for few. And again, there's 4 options here. Pouco, pouca, poucos, poucas. One more time, mais uma vez. Pouco, pouca, poucos, poucas. Tá bom? The next one for much. Tanto, tanta, tantos, tantas. Mais uma vez. Tanto, tanta, tantos, tantas. Tá bom? Next one, the word for all, or the words for all. Todo, toda, todos, e todas. Now this D in the todo column, or the todo row, I should say, we don't really ever want to have hard Ds unless it's at the very beginning of a word. So typically if that D comes in the middle of a word, it's got more of the TH sound that we produce in English with in words like the. That's the sound that you're really trying to go for. Todo, todo, toda. Right? So I don't know if you can hear me pronounce that and with the sound that comes out, but it's definitely more of a TH sound. And then lastly, in this particular matrix, we're looking at the word for other. And again, we have 4 versions depending on what that other thing is. Masculine, feminine, singular, or plural. We have to make sure that there's agreement. Outro, outro, outra, outros, outras. Mais uma vez. Outro, outra, outros, outras. Tá bom? Vamos continuar. There's also a few here that are designated strictly for people, para pessoas, or for things, para coisas. So these are the things that are very much related to people. Alguém, that's the direct translation for someone, and for nobody, ninguém. Ninguém. Now these do not have masculine, feminine, or any sort of quantity issues. It's really just when you need to convey that idea of someone. Again, this word will not need to have gender applied to it. It's just a general concept, right? Someone, nobody. So, mais uma vez, alguém, ninguém. Okay? Alguém, ninguém. And then for things, tudo could mean all, right? And nada, nothing. Tudo, all, nada, nothing. Tá bom? Here's a little exercise for you to try to figure out and look at what agreement needs to be created between or amongst these 4 words in their particular contexts. So I'll just give you a second to fill this out. You can pause the video and then pick back up to look at the responses. Tá bom. Give it a shot. Tenta lá. Okay. And here are the answers in our prática. The first one, já leste algum livro em português? Because livro is masculine and singular. Our algum version also has to be the masculine singular version of that word. So, já leste algum livro em português? So, have you read any books in Portuguese? Número 2, o Paulo não gosta de ler. Ele lê pouco. Ele lê pouco. Okay? He only reads a little bit. He reads very little, really. Número 3, eu nunca li nenhum autor coreano. Because autor is masculine and feminine, we're going to go with nenhum autor coreano. So coreano, Korean, in this case, is masculine. Autor is masculine. The feminine word for a female author would be autora. So nenhum autor coreano. Número 4, a Joana comprou muita roupa e muitos sapatos nos saldos. Gastou muito dinheiro. So roupa, clothing, is a feminine term. So we use the feminine version of this quantifier, muita roupa, e muitos, the masculine plural form of this quantifier with the masculine plural form of the word for shoes, sapatos, so muitos sapatos. These are nice and clean to look at because our endings are very similar, right? Os and os, a and roupa, muita roupa, and finally, gastou muito dinheiro. Again, dinheiro, money, masculine, singular. Our quantifier muito also has to be masculine and singular. Número 5. Ele está gordo. Ele come muitos doces e coisas com muita gordura. So he's very fat. Ele está muito gordo. Maybe I should have added muito there to give you an extra option there to work with. Ele come muitos doces. So doces, sweets, masculine plural. Our muito quantifier also has to adhere to that, so it becomes muitos. And then coisas, things. In this case, we're actually looking at the word gordura, fat. So as in, like the fat in food. So muita gordura, fat, feminine, singular. So we also have the quantifier muita, feminine, singular. Número 6, ainda não li nenhum livro do José Saramago. So José Saramago is a very famous Portuguese author. He won the Nobel Prize. One of the most established Portuguese authors of all time. In this case, we're talking about his book, Livro, não li. I have not read nenhum livro. I haven't read any books. Nenhum livro do José Saramago. Livro singular. Our quantifier also has to be masculine and singular. E, finalmente, número 7, já viste alguma telenovela portuguesa? Telenovela is singular and feminine, thus our quantifier also has to be feminine and singular. I hope this video helped you out and you got a little bit more information on how to use quantifiers and indefinite determinants or pronouns, indefinite pronouns in Portuguese. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment in the section below. And I hope you subscribe and turn on notifications for upcoming videos. I try to release a new video each week and a couple of shorts here and there throughout the week to just keep people interested. And I hope you enjoy this. If you're interested in taking courses in European Portuguese, you can check out my website, lowkeyportuguese.com, and check out the information that's available there for individual one-to-one classes with me. Or if you'd like to join a group of students that are learning European Portuguese, and they're lots of fun, our classes. They tend to speed by. People tend to enjoy them. I definitely enjoy them. And you can join, like-minded students in working on your European Portuguese. And again, they're really fun. Check it out. Again, lowkeyportuguese.com will have all that information for you. If you have any questions for me, you can definitely leave me a comment and I'll get back to you as well. Até a próxima.